So I wanted to go over the fiasco that was yesterday. When you're doing a project like this, you're going to have good days and bad days. And then days like yesterday where it was just my head messed up. So I came up here to hook up that 12 volt socket on this side. I had gone and got some more connectors and stuff like that. And it should have been like, I don't know, 20-30 minutes just to connect so I have 12 volt power on that side where I put the TV. Then I got to think, I was like, oh, I got to figure out how to sort those batteries. See, the new lithium batteries, you don't want to hook directly to the alternator. So there's a special charger. Now that charger needs to be connected to an ignition line, which means a line that's on when the ignition's on and is off when the ignition's off. So it shuts that charger and that connection off completely when the engine's not running. When you turn it on, then it's on, and then it will start charging the lithium batteries from the alternator and the starter battery. So anyway, I finally figured out, okay, I found there's a purple wire that works for ignition wire, and that was a good thing. We should have stopped. The next thing I did was the battery switch coming off. I got the tester and was trying to figure out, okay, which wire was 1, which wire was number 2, and while doing that, I somehow got it in my head, I don't even know, that I had to separate the house wiring from the cranking the wire to the starter and the cable to the starter. And I don't, like I said, man, sometimes you're just tired and it's better to stop and walk away, because what I did was made a huge mess. I ended up ripping this thing all the way out, and I'm switching back and forth and trying to figure out, and I traced the wires down to the starter. They connect onto the starter. Well, I found the wire on the starter that runs house stuff. So I separated that, and then I tried to start the boat, and I got nothing. The ignition wouldn't even work. And so I'm like, well, that doesn't work. And then I got the thing, I'm like, man, you have messed up and taken off so many wires. I hope you haven't screwed up the wiring to the motor. So I'm like, I need to start the motor just to see if it starts. And so I come up here, I hook everything up the way I think it's supposed to be, and I come up here and I turn the key, and it's starting to crank over and crank over. Nothing. Will not fire up. And I'm like, man, what have I done? So I got to thinking, I was like, wait a minute, you had that problem with the fuel when I changed the fuel pump. I was like, first, make sure it's getting gas. So I pull the cover off of the carburetor and all that stuff, and I have to unhook the linkage because you can't move the throttle with the linkage hooked up. So I unhook all of that, and I start working it, and there's no fuel coming in. So I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around, I'm trying to figure out why is it not getting up fuel, and I finally noticed that the line that I had run from the carburetor down to the filter, I ran it in between the hoses and came down, and it made it too sharp, and it actually kinked it and closed itself off. So I had to pull that off, cut the end of it off, run it around all those wires and straight in so it wouldn't kink. So now we got fuel, and thankfully the motor fired up. I didn't run it because it's no water up here, so I just fired it and shut it right off just to make sure it would run. So finally, that made me feel better. So then I'm still looking at these wires, so I finally just put everything kind of away for the night. And I go down last night, and I'm like, somebody's got to have done this before. And I start looking online for people that have like separated the house bank from the starter bank, and I can't find anything on it, man. Just something about a guy separating a generator. And then I was sitting there, and it finally just clicked. Like, I wish it had done it hours earlier. That's the battery switch, man. When you got number 1, you crank up the boat. You switch it right over to number 2. You're running off of house batteries. The cranking battery's completely separated. Nothing's being drawn off of it. I don't know why in the world it got into my head that I had to separate all that stuff. And I had a couple of hours worth of just screwing things up for no reason at all. So yeah, in the end, all I had to do was hook this wire to the starter battery and this wire to the house batteries, and then all of it junctions right here. I don't know why I got it in my head that it had to be done differently and why I went through all that. But needless to say, I was searching and searching and searching, and like I said late last night, it just finally clicked. Like, dude, you're being stupid. That's not how it works. This is how you wired the other boat. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, when you get tired, sometimes things just don't click. But anyway, so what we're waiting on now is, one thing I did notice is when I was trying to test this to see, like right there, which cable was which. It's not exactly, it's old, this one's used, and it's not exactly sitting where it needs to. And we want to make sure, with the cranking battery being a lead acid regular cranking battery, and the lithium batteries, they cannot run together. So we never want to put this on all. We want to keep it to 1 or 2. And that's why I went ahead and got a new switch, because I don't want this to, what I was having a problem with yesterday was I was switching this thinking, okay, I'm off of 1 now. Actually, I was on all, and then I thought I was in 2, but I was still on all. We cannot have that happen with these batteries, so I went ahead and ordered a new switch. It'll be here in a couple of days, and we'll get it hooked back up. But yeah, if you're doing a project like this and sometimes something just doesn't seem right, it's probably better to stop and come back to it later, because I dug myself into such a hole, had everything torn apart. I spent hours tearing stuff apart and putting it back together for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So all that stress and all that fear was worthless. But I wanted to talk about this because when you're doing projects, this is reality. You're not going to have perfect days. You watch these videos, and in a 15-minute clip, you see all this stuff getting done, when that could be a span of 3 or 4 days. You know, everything takes a lot longer to do than what it looks like in a video. So I like to point out my mistakes and my stupidity and all that stuff, so let y'all know you're not alone. We all make mistakes. We all do stupid stuff. Just part of the deal. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.